we're going to see how to find the derivative of a function using the TI84 or TI83. So what I've got here in my calculator screen is a function 15x minus 4.9x squared. So I've got that typed into my function. My goal is to find the derivative. The calculator will only find a definite derivative, so a derivative at a particular x. So at x is equal to, we'll do it, x is equal to 3. I've got this typed into my y equals screen, so if I were to exit here, I've got y equals, and then I have my function here. If I want to graph that one, I've got my graph, so I can see most of it there, and I'm looking to see what's happening at x equals 3, which is really close to the x-axis there. If I go to my calculate, which is second of trace, so I'm going to hit second and then trace. I'm looking for that dy dx, so I arrow down. Whoops, let me do that one more time. So second calc. I'm going to arrow down until I choose, or you can type the number 6, that derivative. And I want the derivative at 3. So I can use my right arrow here and just start tracing through my function until I get to an x value that's close to 3. And I can get kind of close there, but it looks like there's a pretty big gap between my y value. So I can get kind of close to the y value. What I want to do though is to find this derivative. So instead of just finding the x value, if I hit enter now, it gives me the derivative about negative 14.19. If I do this one more time and go second calc, I'm just going to type number 6 this time to choose that derivative. Instead of using my trace, my arrow keys to get to 3, I'm just going to type the number 3 in. Not doing anything special, but just typing the number 3 in, and then I hit enter, and it gives me that value. So the derivative at 3 is equal to negative 14.4. So that's one way to find the derivative using your calculator's graphing screen. If I were to go back to the home screen, so second quit, I can also use the math menu. So I'm going to go to the math menu. I'm looking for that nth derivative. So I arrow down, and the nth derivative is there on my calculator at number 8. So I'll go ahead and hit enter. With this view, and I've given you the alternative view here, so with this view in my calculator, it's waiting for me to type in this ddx notation. So I go ahead and I type in ddx. Right here, I can type in 15x minus 4.9x squared, and I'll show you another way to do that here in just a second. It only does this numerically, so I've got to type in the x equals 3. So I'm looking for the derivative at x equals 3. And there's my negative 14.4 again. I can do this another way, so I can go ahead and go back to my math menu. I'm still using this syntax that we get in my version. I'm going to talk about this nth derivative notation at the bottom here. Yours might look like that. But I'm going to go ahead and type ddx. I've already assigned this to be y1. So if I go back to my y equals screen, y1 is assigned to be that function. So back in my home screen, I really want y1 to go right here. So I'm going to go to my vars menu, my variables menu, just kitty corner to the down arrow. So I want variables, I arrow over to those y variables. It is a function variable, and my function's assigned to y1. So I can go ahead and just hit enter. So it's going to grab that function from y1, and then I type in 3 to get that same derivative. What I have down here, let me just see if I can scooch it up a little bit. There we go. So what I have right here is the other notation that you might get in your version of the calculator. So when you go to the math menu, and you arrow down there to number 8, or wherever your nth derivative is, your calculator might instead say n derivative, so n deriv with a parentheses, and then just wait for you to enter in the parameters. As you're entering your parameters, the first parameter is the function. The second parameter is the variable. And the third parameter is the number that you're evaluating that derivative at. So you can type it in exactly like I have here in this screen view, or you can type in our function. So if I go back to y equals, my function, I can type after the parentheses 15x minus 4.9x squared, followed by the comma. The comma is right here above the 7. oops, I want that to be a 1 actually, but the comma is right there above the 7, so comma. My variable is x, so I would pick the variable key, so x, comma again, and then I'm evaluating that at the number 3. So if your calculator looks like this, you will still get that same answer that we were getting, that negative derivative of 14.4.